G'day guys, welcome to another episode of the Pumped On Property Show. Now in today's podcast, I sit down with Josho and we get super deep into our favourite markets for 2026, the exact suburbs and pockets of the Melbourne and Brisbane markets, as well as the Geelong market that we love. And then we also talk very prescriptively about our personal investment strategies for the new year. So I really enjoyed this one. It is filled with a combination of absolute hotspots and where to buy next to make the most money over the next 15 years, on top of why we like certain markets in Australia over others and all of the data surrounding that so that you can make the best possible decisions for your new year.
Man, this year has definitely flown by, like 2025. And naturally, one of the first things that enters my mind is, what does 2026 look like?
You know, for me, 2026 is looking exciting. Like, I'm sort of the same as you, just starting to move the chess pieces around and think about the planning, the year that may or may not be, and where the opportunities in the Oz market are, which we'll definitely get to way more later in the potty. But I think it's going to be one of those years that is filled with speculation and incredible returns for some investors, but also has like a tint or an element of anxiousness and a bit of fear mixed in, which is what we sort of normally get at this stage of the cycle. You know, we can see that gold, silver, crypto, stocks, and many property markets like Brisbane, Perth and Darwin are going absolutely ballistic right now. And as we move into 2026, I think it's a real good time to sort of pause, reflect on what's been, but also recognise that we're no longer in a market where all boats will be lifted at the same rate. But from my perspective now, we're really in a marketplace in Australia where Sydney, Hobart, Canberra, to me, parts of Brisbane, big parts of Adelaide, big parts of Perth, as well as big parts of Newcastle, Wollongong, Sunny Coast and Gold Coast don't necessarily represent massive value for me anymore. So an example of this is like 10, 11 years ago when we really started to look at Brisbane, there would have been literally 25 beachside suburbs that we loved and saw value in. And now, as we'll talk about later in the video, there's literally 4 that look statistically the way that you and me want them to look. So I think I'm super excited. I'm going to personally take very strong action next year. But not betting the whole house on it, not building on sand and following fundamentals.
So many conversations we've had as well. You're telling me it's like Melbourne, think back to Sydney in 2011. And that really resonates with me because the Sydney market is such a good, like, just a benchmark for me to look, because Melbourne's a major capital city in Australia. And with the immigration as well that's happening in Melbourne, like, it's growing, it's getting bigger. So I'm always comparing it to Sydney. If I think, okay, Melbourne looks like Sydney did in 2011, that really gets me sort of thinking of like, I need to take some action there.
You know, because obviously our temperaments as investors, like you've been in the pharmaceutical industry for most of the last 20 years and your focus has been on working with doctors, helping people get good like health solutions, and then just same as me, like, but even way more so, like obsessed with health and your family and traveling. Now you're sort of 42. How do you weigh the risk versus reward for your own family going into the new year? Because you've got your own home owned outright, great combined income, great amount of super, but you're sort of sitting in a very good position. Where do you see your own strategy for 2026 going? Like, again, I'm throwing you fully under the bus.
It's a really good question. You know,
a lot of people in phenomenal positions that have been waiting around for 4 or 5 years for an opportunity like Melbourne to reappear.
Yeah, I think there's, like, when I think about the risk, I think about, if I don't do this, what will 10 years from now sort of Josh say to Josh right now? Yeah. Like, that's how I think about it. And I think, I would probably regret it if I didn't do something. And we've spoke a lot about SMSF as well, which I think it just is a no-brainer for me to put my super, like, into Melbourne and put it into property. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I reflect on. I'm looking like 10, 15 years from now, like, my kids will be graduating from high school and stuff at that point, you know, and sort of I'll be 52, 53 around there. And
what choices will you want at that time? Like,
Kat and I have spoken about it a lot. Like, Kat, my wife, and I, we want to travel around Australia. We see those apocalypse vans, I call them, like the big sprinters and stuff like that are set up. And I saw a guy on the weekend when I was surfing at Cardi's, and I saw it there. And we've been talking about it a lot. Like, the goal for us is once the kids have sort of graduated, that really opens up a lot of freedom for us. And we want to be able to travel.
Healthy.
Yeah. Like, I still want to be really fit in my early 50s. I want to be surfing. And my dream for like a good 6 to 12 months is to just drive up and down the east coast of Australia and do nothing but go surfing and just hang out.
I love that.
Am I practicing guitar? Am I reading books? I just want to be just chilling and just enjoying life. Like, going back to what we were...
mobility, like I did going around Australia.
Like we did when we left uni. Like, that for me, I want to recapitalise on that. So to get there, the way I see it's like, okay, what's the vehicle to get me there? Is it, like we said, a couple of these properties that are around that sort of $600,000 mark, or is it, do I go up and go for something a little bit more expensive? That's sort of the dilemma that I've got at the moment. I need to figure that out sort of over the next few weeks.
And do you hold them to purely rinse the market, or do you hold them till you're 60 and you can talk to your financial advisors about the benefits of doing that? Like, you know, that's not a question for you, but it's like a question for me as a listener.
No, and you know what? The good thing is I don't have to make that decision right now. And that's one of the beautiful things. I set myself up, I'll see how it matures. And in 10 years from now, like, for instance, if I've got like 100, 120% growth, maybe I do, you know, check out at that point and go into something else. But I don't have to make that decision straight away.
Just make a great first step into the market.
And I think that's probably the big thing that a lot of people miss, is that just taking that action. That first step is so critical. You don't have to have everything else sorted out. We don't know what's going to happen in 5, 10 years from now, but I'm going to make the best decision for me today in this space and time, and then I can make those other decisions as things unfold.
There's a phenomenal quote on that. It's like, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And if I reflect on, you know, going from 0 to 19 properties and now back to almost nothing again, I look at what was it that got me there, and it was a vision of the future, which was I'd love to be healthy, have a great relationship with my wife, great relationship with my kids. I'd like to travel with them, spend time with them. I'd like to surf, like I'm injured at the moment. Man, I'd like to surf right now. I can't wait to surf. I'm going to Bali in a week and a half again, which would be so sick. I had a vision of wanting something different for myself, wanting choices to like contribute, to help others, like to help my family, to help my mum. Like, she has a home. Like, I literally just bought her a home. Like, she's on my property with a home. She never has to think about something again. Like, I used to see Conor McGregor or like people talk about getting the mum a house.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, that would be a cool thing. But earning 45K a year as an investor when I started out, I could never have imagined it. But it's like, there was a version of me 15 years ago that wanted that. Probably back then it was like an ego, going like, I'm going to buy my mum I want a caravan for my mum.
Hey, wrinkle blue.
I want a house for my mum. Snatch style. But these things do happen. What I've realised, like now that I've gone full circle on it, the dreams that I had, the goals that I had, the vision that I had, 15 years is a long enough time frame for many things to happen. And I think now that I've cut right back, got my time back, got the time with the kids back, and got the home that I wanted to live in, and I get to do meaningful, purposeful work like this every day that I just like absolutely love. Like, I get excited to come to work for most days. I get excited about, okay, 15 years from now, what would that guy want? He would like to be able to pay off my 3 kids' homes outright when they're in their mid-30s and they're really like going through that hard time. So that's a strong enough reason for me to go buy another couple of properties so that I can do that. And future me would like a couple of $100,000 a year of passive income. Future me would like to be able to step away from business if it's no longer the thing that's like bringing me joy, and just do YouTube completely for fun, and like be able to pay $150,000 a year for incredible content with Sam and, you know, someone to put that content online at that time. Like, it's so nice to start with vision, and then, as you said, reducing it back. And I suppose that's a good segue into the 5 things that we wanted to talk about, like where we see the most opportunity. But it is really just one market, one suburb, one property at a time. And then once you've got that, letting future you figure it out. I'll tell you what, like the properties that I did hold and didn't sell too early, that all doubled in value, it was a nice choice 7 or 10 years later to go, hell yeah, I'm selling that to pay off my home outright, or hell yeah, I'm selling that. I'm going to put $400,000 into debt reduction. I'm going to put $200,000 into holidays for the next 5 years for my family. Like, I want my future self to have the same choices that I have today based on my previous self, if that makes sense in like a Inception way.
I've seen, what's crazy is I have seen what your whole journey, and I saw it from the beginning when it was like living in a share house, you know what I mean? We all had enough money to maybe buy a surfboard every once in a while.
Dude,
that was our biggest expense.
Like, borrowing your approach, and I didn't have enough money.
Yeah, it was like buying food, like having a good meal was it. And like, that's less than 20 years ago. That's what blows my mind. So I've seen the whole progress, you know what I mean? It's like, I call it the pursuit of happiness, you know what I mean? We've all had a pretty crazy like story. It's like being able to follow that. Another thing that you just said then is something I've also thought about. Part of the reason I think I've been keeping like some savings in reserve is selfishly as a dad, I want my kids to still be able to live close to me, like as they get older, because I want to be able to see them. So I do want to get a spot on the sunny coast at some stage over the next 5 or so years. And that's not really, that's more of an emotional decision, you know, and that's something we're constantly telling people, don't make decisions emotionally. But for me personally as a dad, I just want something that they can have as a base.
Love that. And if you guys want to live out of home, here's your place, and, you know, give us, for the sake of them learning, a couple $100 a week.
So yeah, I hope my kids never watch this video, but what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to get them to rent it, and I'm not going to tell them that I'm going to give it to them later. Yeah, I'm going to basically build it, and then what we'll do eventually is I'll just set up a loan for what we paid for it 20 years before or whatever, and they'll pay that off. So that's my sort of goal. So they've got something that's like, they have a property, because it's going to get expensive over the next, by the time our kids are like in their early mid-20s, like
Sunny Coast will be 1 million people by then. Like, it's going to be the size of the Goldie by then.
Yeah, and selfishly, I want to see my kids. So I'm going to have a base for them. So that's part of our plan as well that Kat and I have spoken about. And yeah, I think that, and then looking for the future for us as well. So
I really like that, man.
And I think that really leads us into next year in 2026. So if you're thinking about what would a great blueprint look like for 2026?
It's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Like last night, I was just deep down the rabbit hole of just like, because I'm not just like, we've got great areas for clients, but because I'm becoming a buyer again, like I'm literally aiming to buy 3 properties now.
I'm just going to stop you there. I don't think people know how obsessed you are with data sometimes. Like, I see it because I can see like the days where you come to the office and you're just like, your head is spinning. Like, you are so into it. Like, I joke, I call it a bit of the Rain Man effect. But it's like,
I lost my mind in the process. It's the kind of thing I'm like about to cut off my ear or something.
But I think it's necessary, right, for you to get to that level of analytics that you do and to find these hidden gems. Like, it takes that level of obsession.
And so what we've got is the 19 largest markets in Australia, and every suburb within those markets within 60 k's of the CBD, and then 15 key performance indicators, the most important for every single suburb. So that gives us about 62,000 pieces of data a day live coming into the business. And when I go, I like these 4 suburbs in Brisbane, I've looked at 423. When I go, I like these, what do we got in Melbourne right now? Like probably 11 that we like, plus 4 more on the beach. So 15 out of 600 suburbs. It's not like I like Melbourne. It's like I fucking hate most of Melbourne, to be honest with you. I think it's completely overvalued and cooked and not the value that I'm looking for. And so when we talk about these 5 options, it's not, like I'm 35,000 hours into like looking at this stuff, and there's really only one thing that we need to know, which I keep banging on about, and that's 10-year growth rates.
Yep.
But if you overlay the other 50 things that you and I look at, your chances of success are a lot higher.
No, definitely. And I guess let's get into it. Like, what do some of those areas look like? Like, if I'm like looking at 2026, let's get into some specifics, you know? Let's start letting a bit of the secret sauce out here.
So, if we go cheapest to most expensive, if you're sitting there and you're single, guy or girl, you're in a relationship, you're a mum and dad, and, you know, like me in the past, like the broker's just like, you can only borrow 500K.
Yeah.
Sweet. Like, that's all I can borrow. Then where can I find the most value? So let's just call it 600 grand. If you've only got 600K to spend, if you've only got 100 grand in equity or cash, if you're in a position like I was and you were for so long, where there's not enough money left over at the end of the week, let alone the month, and you want to get the best quality thing you possibly can for that price, then Geelong is phenomenal. And there's another option that I'll talk about in a moment. But An example of a suburb down there that we both really like is Corio.
Corio, yeah.
Corio.
Yeah, Corio.
See,
I'm sure we'll get corrected.
Yeah, we'll get corrected. Just hit us up in the comments and bash us as per usual. You know, these dead shits not knowing how to say the name. It's like I don't see the name of the suburb. I see the data. It's like it looks like the Matrix just flowing through, and it's like
Sometimes words are hard. That's why.
the bullets that I'm trying to dodge are the online comments, but like I can see the code, guys. It looks green. There's a third pill as well that they didn't talk about in that movie. I will talk about that as well. But you can legitimately buy. I've got a client at the moment who's got a $485,000 budget, and I'm going to buy her a house.
That is insane. But when I think about that in 2025, that for me doesn't make sense. And I know
house.
Geelong's not that far from Melbourne. Like I was saying, my auntie lives in Geelong, and we did the drive from like pretty close into the CBD. It was just over an hour. It was easier than driving to Brizzy from the Sunshine Coast.
Don't people know that all of Ned Kelly's armour is in the Geelong prison? I took my kids there, and there's a Ferris wheel. My gosh, like what else do you want? But like, there is actually a phenomenally strong job market there. And what I know from growing up in Sydney, right? So the benefit of growing up in Sydney is I saw what happened when too many people moved into Sydney. And we've seen it in Brisbane, man. Like people rushed out of Brisbane into the sunny coast and Goldie. Geelong is this close to me by being the best value asset you could the best value property that I can find in Australia right now. Like
it's so cheap. Like
it is so cheap. So, you know, you're not getting great value for 500K. I'll just say that. You are getting 400 to 600 square metre blocks with a home on it. But that home is in need of some, let's just call it lipstick TLC without a doubt. Like this, whoa, fuck. Like, you know, I just woke up. But I think if you're open to cheap, phenomenal value, vacancy rates are insanely low, percentage of renters isn't too bad. If you know how to do a dial before you dig or an underground services search to see what's underneath you, a flood search and a housing commission search, they would be very, very important
helpful
to know for Geelong.
You think about some of the first places that you bought on the northern beaches. I remember seeing some of the pictures of those places, and they weren't no picnic. You know, when I look at some of those spots, I was like, is that still standing?
One of them, literally, I call the Texas Chainsaw Massacre House. I walk through and I'm like, I'm just like praying on this. Like, I didn't want to be in there. There's chains hanging in this room, but it was, you know, a $350,000 piece of land in COVID. That I knocked over and built a beautiful 4-bedroom home with a 2-bedroom granny flat, which I just sold for $1.4 million 5 years later. So it's like value is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, I was going to say, at least you were able to spot that value, and that's what a lot of people miss. They're like, they think it has to be nice and stuff like that. It's like sometimes like a bit of a stinker in a great area is a really good like long-term investment. Like what you've done, like, you know, some of those properties in Brizzy, like.
But if you can spend 600K in Geelong, you can get mint stuff. So it's not just the 8-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1-year averages that look perfect for buying there, or the fact that there's actually so many jobs in Melbourne plus Geelong there. Like Geelong's phenomenally blue collar. Like there's a lot going on there for people. Being 30 minutes to Bells Beach isn't a bad thing.
I look at that on the map and I'm like, that's a spot. That's a spot.
And then I also, just when I was travelling around Australia in 2023, I spent a couple of weeks there, and I'm like actually 3-4 weeks in Geelong and the Surf Coast, and I'm like a monster fan of the potential, not so much what it is now, but of the potential in 15 years as it runs through its cycle. But what I like about Geelong, because I looked at 44 pages last night of realestate.com of sold properties, of properties for sale and land for sale, because I wanted to get into it for today. Yeah. / also for my own, just because I fucking love it. Some people watch footy, I watch realestate.com.
We do laugh about their conversations. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
But what I can see is there's this suburb, right, like Geelong North. A property that's worth $1 million there is worth 500K there. Next suburb.
Yeah.
Like next suburb. And I'm like, I've seen this before. I've seen when Noosa was $3 million and everything else on the coast was 500K.
Yeah, Tewantin, look at all these surrounding suburbs and like they grow. It's a natural part of the process.
Tewantin at 450 when we used to buy properties up there for clients, like next to the Noosa at 3.5 mil. I'm like, I don't see value here.
Yeah. How's a 15-minute drive? It's not that bad.
Yeah, vacancy rates are low enough in Geelong. Like in some of these suburbs, they're 0.5%.
Wow.
That's a very strong indicator for me when I look at CBA's 30-year capital growth rates versus vacancies. Like, vacancy doesn't just drive rents up. Vacancy actually is a key indicator when property prices are cheap for, like, the growth curves look very similar. As the vacancy rates go low and hold, prices can go up by as much as 15%. So, Geelong's number one for sure. Like, if you're just starting out with a low budget and want value, like that market is going to be a big one.
Okay.
We won't talk about it too much in our short format content. We'll talk about it in our long format content for the people that like are truly listening to this stuff that want it. But like that's a winner. Over 15 years, like there's big potential there.
Oh, that's awesome. And what if we were to take like another step up? Let's just say Kat and I, we're looking at a place in Melbourne. We're looking at spending, around 750,000, which is probably like where we're going to spend our money. Where would be like for us, like the best spot to sort of put our money?
We know that metro markets have done about 127% better than regional markets in Australia in the last, 30 odd years, according to Cotality now, formerly CoreLogic. So not everyone, myself included, for most of my investment journey, likes regional. I just like Geelong because it's cheap, but there's a lot of people that are like, man, I don't want a port town. You know what I mean? That's completely cool. Like, so if you want Melbourne, the next option is northwest Melbourne.
Beautiful.
There's 6 suburbs around that Melton area. Melton's where the $900 million hospital project's going in, where you and I can see that you can buy houses for between 550 through to 700K. 550 gets you smaller block and in the market. 700K gets you whatever you want right now. 4-bedroom homes on big blocks. They are the fastest growing, like Melton is the fastest growing region in Australia from a population perspective right now.
Wow.
Pound for pound, the infrastructure going in there is phenomenal. Vacancies are through the floor. Incomes are so fucking high relative to house prices. Like, it's literally like the incomes there are like $2,000 a week plus, and your house prices are 500 to 600K. Like, it is in line with what our grandparents were earning relative to house prices. Rents are so cheap. Like, Melbourne's the only place in Australia that I haven't seen rents jump by $200 a week since COVID. Out of any other regional market or metro market, Melbourne is the only place. So there's a big rental jump coming as well with 160,000 people a year moving in there. So I think that's a really good option. 3-bed, 4-bedders, 400 square metre homes, 600 square metre blocks, 400 square metre blocks to 600, sorry.
Yeah. Quiet
streets, quality pockets, avoid the new stuff. And what I like about it is the new stuff is being built for like 300, 400 grand more than what you can buy the old stuff for right now. So that's a special jump. When I see that, the old stuff will lift off the bottom.
And a lot of that new stuff's on smaller blocks as well.
Much smaller.
So I'd much rather have a bigger block with an old house any day of the week.
Without a doubt.
What if we would wanted to spend a little bit more, like we wanted to spend an extra 100, maybe up to 150 extra? Where would we put the money there? My
next favourite place, so let's say you've got a 700K to an 800K budget, but that would get you the most premium stuff in these areas. Like, that's
some
so
of the stuff we
above.
bought there is like, I look at it, I'm like, no, that doesn't right. Like, I have to check the price. I'll like call out to one of the team. I'm like, are you sure? Like, is this right? I
the other day for 508K. It's like, I'm just, when I'm always setting expectations worst case so that people are stoked. But, an example of a suburb around this area is like Tarneet. This would be West Melbourne. Now, to people who live in Melbourne, West Melbourne is a dive.
Yeah.
If you're in East Melbourne, you think West Melbourne is like hell on earth. If you live in parts of Brisbane, then you thought South Brisbane and West Brisbane, Ipswich and Logan was bad. If you grew up in Sydney, you thought Western Sydney and Southern Sydney were the worst places. It's like, that's cool for locals to think that. But people like me just see the value. And West Melbourne right now, what's interesting about Melbourne to me, right, that I don't currently get, is the city and Eastern Melbourne are phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
The northern part of Melbourne, close to the city, is phenomenally expensive too. Melbourne is the only market in Australia where northern Melbourne, nowhere near anything in my opinion, it's not near the beach, it's not even that close to the city, is more expensive than West Melbourne, which is some of these suburbs like Werribee is only a 14-minute drive to the beach. Now, I'm not saying they're good beaches, they're bays.
Yeah.
The infrastructure's not there, but give it time and give that city at 7 million people. Watch these foreshore places radically improve and all the developers just go boom, 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 boom.
I'll give you a prime example. So where our place is, you know, along that Kiwana sort of stretch on the Sunshine Coast. So Kat's dad grew up here.
Yeah.
They couldn't give away blocks along that stretch during like 35, sort of up to 40 years ago. They were paying people. And you look at now, it's like some of the most desirable spots.
you obviously would run your own sales business as well, and you sold a place for what,
$2.7 million for a 5.3, like it was on just under 800 square meters.
They couldn't give that away.
And that's what's crazy. So you look at like, yeah, that west pocket, like, yeah, now it might not be that desirable. Like you said, let's fast forward 1-2 decades.
It's really interesting to me that it's the only city in Australia. Like, I travelled all of South Oz, all of WA to Perth. I've done the entire East Coast all the way through, like, Sunny Coast, Goldie, Brisbane, all the way through Sydney, Central Coast, Wollongong, Newcastle, all the way through Mornington Peninsula, Melbourne, Geelong, Surf Coast. It is the only fucking area that I can see that is close to the beach in anywhere in Australia that is worth half the price of somewhere that's nowhere near the beach. And it's like... interesting to me. Fundamentals though, ridiculous incomes relative to house prices, crazy low vacancy rates, monster amounts of infrastructure going in, and people most importantly. So whether we like it or not, there's 500,000 people moving in from overseas a year. If you're coming in from overseas, there's two options. There is Brisbane, there's
Sydney and Melbourne. Yeah, they're the big ones.
And then maybe you've got a mate living in Brisbane. And you're going, okay, I can earn some... These people aren't coming in. They're not refugees anymore. We're not sending boats home.
Like nearly a couple $100,000 a year, most of them. Like
averages, man.
Yeah.
Accountants, solicitors,
IT.
tradespeople, IT, engineers, doctors. Like,
yep.
Man, doctors, like, Aussies don't want to do 10 years of medical training at the moment or something.
I think our medical system, we're poaching a lot of really good quality people. Yeah, because we need more doctors in Australia. That's the reality.
And we need more doctors that want to work. Like almost, I mean, you've been in pharma. Like most of the doctors that I know don't want to do more than 3 to 4 days a week.
Typical, yeah, 4 days a week, sort of pretty typical.
Which I get it. The burnout must be so high.
It's an intense role. Like, but to your point, like there are so many people that are coming in, and I talk about this with people every single day. It's like if you had the choice and you're coming from outside of Australia, you don't have any idea. You're just like, look, I can get a great job in Melbourne. I can get a great job in Sydney. I can buy a house though in Melbourne for $600,000-700,000. That same house in Sydney is $1.2 million maybe. Like, what are you going to do? It's like such a no-brainer.
And this is why 160,000 people are hitting Melbourne now. And everyone left. And we all know the story during COVID of the 300,000 people that left Melbourne and came to Queensland, or some of them went to Perth. What we haven't heard is the 160,000 people a year for the last 3 years that secretly snuck back in, or the 160,000 people a year for the next 5 years that the government's expecting will come straight to Melbourne, which will take Melbourne to 6.9 million people in 5 years.
Wow.
That is a really big deal, man, for North, Northwest, Geelong, and Mornington too, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you can get good stuff out there. Fundamentally, I love it. Pound for pound, at 700 to 750K, it's my favourite property in Oz right now. I know that I'm going to get hate for that, but let's just see what it's worth in 15 years.
Time will tell. You have a habit of being right about some of these things.
Everyone in real estate over a 15-year period is right. You could have bought Sydney at the very, very, very top of its last cycle and doubled your money since the last GFC again. It's just time is forgiving in property. It's like you and I have a 15-year approach, and it's just if you're trying to do a 1 to 2 to 5 year approach, then you're in danger. Because any one of these markets could literally do nothing. But
the alternative,
they have all done 10% in the last year, which is interesting because Melbourne in the last year has done 1.8%. And so as a whole, so people are going that the whole basket of goods is doing poorly. Let's keep going. Darwin, Brisbane, Perth. where individual pockets are doing the sort of thing that's going to make people very excited about it in 2 or 3 years' time. And I've always said, like, getting in early isn't just safety or just smart investing, because why wouldn't you buy at the bottom of the market? There's a 30% gain on average before the whole city does its 10% growth year in the good suburbs that people aren't factoring in when they're getting in at the bottom when everyone else is. So it's there's money to be made. 7% one year, 3% one year, 12% the next. All of a sudden, you're getting close to where you want to be.
It's got a strong history as well. You know, with that homely data looking between 1970 and 2016, like Melbourne was still averaging 9.5%.
Yeah.
So it's done it before. Like the runs are on the board. That's what I like to look back in the past and see. Okay, this is definitely doable.
Every market in Australia is ranked over the last 30 years. Melbourne was Australia's top performing capital city, 459% over that period of time. And yeah, that gets me excited.
Super excited.
Really excited. So that's a really good option for people. Now, the types of properties you get there are the types that you want to own as an investor. 3-4 bedroom, brick tile, slab on ground, fully renovated joints. We're picking the eyes out of the upper middle bit of the market right now. Like, get the quality while you can before you have to peel back to sort of the unrenovated 3-bedders.
Some of the ones that I've seen examples, it's like ready, tenant ready straight away, and you won't have to touch them for the next decade. Just leave them, and that gets me excited, not having to do any extra work.
Yeah, man. I'm starting to shop like bottom of market again, just for a strategy.
Yeah.
But I know the pain.
Yeah, no,
versus
for sure.
like the brand newies and the nicer joints, and I'd choose the path of least pain after having like tenants burn down houses and stuff.
What about if we went, so we have a lot of clients who want to buy like what I would consider like the blue chip sort of stuff. Where would you recommend in Melbourne would be like that upper sort of tier if you want something like, say for instance, you spoke about getting two, sort of cheaper sort of places, or if you were to get one really nice place, where would you recommend for something that's like that nice sort of blue chip?
Honestly, out of looking at the 600 odd suburbs in Melbourne and 423 in Brisbane, there's only 4 suburbs that I deem blue chip in Brisbane that I would personally put my money in, and 4 in Melbourne, maybe 5 in Melbourne as well. There's one on the southeastern side that's good too, Point Cook.
Yep.
But for me, 2 things are interesting about blue chip property in Melbourne, and then I'll talk Brisbane as well. In Melbourne, the Mornington Peninsula has taken a full-on bath since COVID, like about as big a bath as you can get in a non-GFC environment. Like, I'm talking, some of these joints are down 20 to 40%.
Wow.
There's 2 reasons that happened. One, people had to choose holiday home or home during COVID. Holiday home goes. People stopped buying lifestyle destinations at that point, sort of. Like, the lifestyle destinations they were choosing were Goldie, Sunny Coast, regional other pockets that were cheaper. And then the Airbnb rules changed down there, and a lot of the people that had beautiful Airbnbs had to flog them off because you were only allowed a certain number of days per year. So the combination of those things plus nobody buying Melbourne, and when I say nobody, I'm talking normal sales volumes are this, and sales volumes for 5 years have been this, just has resulted in a perfect storm down there. So Mornington is a suburb that we like, Seaford, for example. Some of the others that we might just keep for clients.
The one that we were all looking at about a couple of weeks ago, there was a property, and it was...
I was 300-400k below.
I couldn't believe
value.
how cheap that was. That for me was a real wake-up call of
well
some
done,
of the value.
We should have... You nailed it, mate. That's a good... I thought it was the best buy, but I've got a buy in Brisbane today that should go through for Sujit, which I genuinely believe is a 2.1 to 2.2 replacement value that I'll get for him for 1.5. So there's
still steals out there. That's the crazy thing.
If you're a baller and you want properties in the 1.2 to 1.5 range, the market has gone ballistic below that. Not ballistic up until $1 million. 1 to 1.2 is growing very quickly in Mornington as well as South Brisbane beaches. But there's just a bit of thin air up there right now, and man, like, the value gap in terms of what you get is insane. So blue chip looks phenomenal down there. The reason I really like it though is when I look at beaches in Sydney, beaches on the sunny coast or Goldie, Mornington, you can still get really decent stuff for $1 million.
It's beautiful down there as well. I went to a friend's wedding
beautiful.
a couple of years ago. It's so nice. Like, it's really, really good spot. Great wineries and stuff. As soon as you get up in the hills, it's a really prime
I'm obsessed.
spot.
Like, I went down there as well for 3 weeks, probably in 2023. Sorrento, Portsea, the backside that no one talks about, where the surf's just offshore and cranking every day during summer. Like, my gosh, it was
Just a big
so
fish in the
good.
water, though.
Yeah, that's the game. I had my eyeballs on the. No, I didn't. I just think there's enough people in the water down there that I felt okay. Hey, WA South Oz not so much.
Bit hairy. Hairy.
But I think there's so much value down there, bro. That blue chip looks phenomenal, but then blue chip southeastern beaches of Brisbane, Cleveland, Thornside. Insane vacancy rates, some of the best schooling in Queensland, phenomenally undervalued, trains to the city.
Big blocks too. Like, they're all nice big houses on big blocks.
Yeah.
Really nice neighbourhoods. Like, that area is just, it's hard to beat that area.
That's pound for pound, like it went up 100K this month.
Well, we were talking about some of the properties we just couldn't get because they just went up.
Now it's like not $1 million, it's 1.15. Okay, like that's a 3-week jump. But yeah, there's some monster value there. Like, the guys in the Financial Review are expecting those suburbs to go from 800K a few years ago to about 1.5 by the Olympic Games, and I can really see that happening now. I always said 5 years ago when we were buying houses there that it's a 1.5 plus area that's just you can buy for 750 right now. So yeah, blue chip, phenomenal value. Like, with these first home buyers grants that have come in, so 900K in Victoria, $1 million in Queensland, 1.2 in New South Wales, or Sydney, it just sort of has lifted the bottom, which is exactly what they wanted it to do. And so the bottom is racing up, but the middle tier hasn't jumped. Like, if the bottom's jumped 200K in 2 months, the top hasn't in Brisbane yet. So I think there's big opportunity there. And luckily Melbourne's just cold because it's not hot right now. So it's just so good buying there right now.
As an investor, like, for me, like, I just love Melbourne for that exact reason, because it's not hot. Like, once the data starts really showing and the growth, and when there's news articles on Melbourne and how good of a buy it is, it's gonna be too late by that point.
Yeah,
Or maybe not too late, but once it jumps, like, I love the idea of getting in when it's still not that popular.
Yeah.
That for me gets me excited.
And I looked at all of that homely data you talked about before from 70 to 2016. When I looked at the trend, like, me and Ryan from On Property spent a fair bit of time, and he's clever. We were looking for a pattern in the data to go, I knew 10-year growth rates, and that's number one versus long-term history, but I was looking for another one as like a buy signal for a market. And when a market does 10% in 1 year citywide, between Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Perth, we found that there's about a 70% chance of it doing it in the year after again, and about a 60+% chance of it doing it in a third year. So it's like, if you can pick just before it hits that 10% first year, the likelihood of it running, and it's really just Aussies gambling and speculating, people love a winner. Darwin is going ballistic because Darwin is going ballistic and no other reason. Maybe also because it's been flat for like a good 11 plus years. It's been a pretty hard time up there for property, hey?
No, definitely. Living there personally, that's why I would get a bit nervous, because I've seen it go up and I've seen it go down as well, like, living there, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's just so dependent on industry. Like, it's really driven by industry a lot.
Yeah, and now buyers agents.
Yeah.
Or is there something going on up there that I don't know about? Like, is there heaps of projects coming back on?
Yeah, the gas drives a lot. So they've got the Impex gas line there, and that drives a lot of the demand there with workers coming in. There was a while there where you couldn't rent homes, so workers would permanently stay in like high-end hotels.
Yeah, wow.
Like, that's how crazy it can get, because there just wasn't enough supply. But when that industry leaves or that project shuts down,
go flat for a while.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
I suppose the last idea is something that I helped 2 clients do this weekend. So if you were to go for a 600 square metre block of land in Brisbane, 40K from city, it's going to cost you about 600K just for the land. And I can get it way closer to Melbourne than that, or about the same distance from Melbourne right now for, like, I bought one this week for 345, another one for 375. So they're few and far between. One was from the public trustee because the developer had gone bankrupt. So I actually just found a dude that has access to over 5,000 pieces of land, and 2,500 of them are from developers that have gone bankrupt.
Wow.
And they're being sold by the public trustee. So there's really good land options around in Melbourne right now. But if it's 225k cheaper in Melbourne than Brisbane right now for land, that's interesting to me. So for investors that are looking for not just a normal buy and hold strategy, that are looking for something with great cash flow, great tax benefits, great timing, and great long-term capital growth, then something like this could be interesting. The idea is you go out there and you buy like a 400k piece of land, and then I've designed this monster 4-bedroom home with a monster 2-bedroom granny flat. So you're talking like 280 square meters of property or something, like it's big.
Yeah.
I can get that built at wholesale pricing now. Like the builder that I've got is doing it for 2,200 a metre squared, which the normal rate would be about 2,500 a metre squared. So for both of these clients, I've literally saved one of them 79,000 on the build compared to market value, and the other one like over 60k. So if you can get the land cheap and the build cheap, that's interesting to me. You can build a dual income. So let's say you go all in, big block, big home, you're in it for $1 million. You're going to immediately get a grand a week back in rent from the two of them. You're going to be able to work with your tax depreciation specialist or your accountant to get a whole lot of tax back based on the current tax system in Australia. But most importantly, you're just getting it so far below Sydney or Brisbane replacement cost, and I think that's interesting. So there is that option. Some of my clients can't go there, so we go for the slightly smaller, cheaper piece of land, and we go for the slightly smaller, like 3-bedroom with a 1-bedroom granny, or the 3-bedroom home with a 2-bedroom granny. But there's like obviously tiers down from like the best. But something in the $850 to $1 million range, if you're looking for land, cash flow, tax benefits and growth, is certainly available down there right now.
A lot of good options, like really anywhere from let's say mid-5s up to well into the millions. Like you've got some really good options sort of across that broad spectrum. And I like the idea of just having the land as well. I think for some people, just the tax appreciation. I remember when I was at a pharmaceutical company, that was one of the things I'm like, that was one of my main goals of my properties, was just some of the negative gearing. Like it helps. So
big
why not?
time. Yeah, and they really, really value people building new stock in Australia. Apparently the government in Australia does less than 2% of all new housing now. So that means 98% of the stock is built by investors or by mums and dads that want to live in there for themselves. And I think it's important to recognise that the reason we get such big tax benefits through those reports is because they're incentivising investors to keep building stuff so that more people can keep moving in without the government having to do it themselves. But yeah, there's phenomenal options, bro. And I can't believe going into 2026, we're talking about buying a beachside area of Melbourne for 500 grand, or bluest chip stuff in Melbourne or Brisbane for $1 million, or places close to the city and the beach for 550 through to 700k. Like, I was actually getting concerned at the start of 25 about Brisbane. There's certain pockets that still have phenomenal potential, and it's nowhere near what the analysts are expecting it to go to. But I was getting concerned that like not everyone can afford $850 to just get into Brisbane, or 1.2 for a blue chip joint. And I was like, I just don't see personally value in any other market really. Like I was looking around, and actually when we found Melbourne, like I got the dude who does the coding for this, like to check the data 3 times because I didn't believe it. And then I went and personally checked it again because I'm like, this is so off what you hear in the media that Melbourne's just like Sydney and it's too expensive. And East Melbourne is. Like East Melbourne's pound for pound probably more expensive than Sydney in some pockets. But there's so much value around. I'm so excited that we can bring this to people so that they can go grab these suburbs we mentioned and go smash it on their own, or do whatever they're going to do next year.
Oh man, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of options on the table, and I'm super excited for 2026. Like, yeah, I definitely want to take some action in the next sort of 3 to 4 months. I know you want to do the same, so
What are you thinking for you personally? Like, let's just spitball, and I might talk about what I want to do as well.
I'm definitely thinking, like, for what we know, inevitably we will hit some decline. And for me, like, my super's decent. It's not crazy, but I'm not going to get the growth.
You've got a deposit there, though.
Yeah, and then that's what I've got to look at, whether I go to sort of like lower mid-tier properties. Because for me personally, I don't think I'm going to hit the goals that I want with my super if I just leave it in just a typical fund, that's going to be invested in shares and stuff like that. So for the next 10 years, that growth...
Really important.
Yeah, we know leverage works with property, and that's, for me, is where I see the value, especially in an area like Melbourne where I can get the next 10, maybe 15 years. Like I said, I'll make that decision when it gets closer.
How does your stomach sit on, like, one really nice place on the Mornington Peninsula or South Brisbane beaches for 1.1 mil versus two cheapies in an... They're full up-and-comer suburbs, man. Like, they're not...
I was hoping more, like, honestly, because we're looking at it all the time, like with clients every day, and I honestly feel the best value is somewhere between that 650 and 750 and that northwest block. Like, I feel like that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So for me, it'd be
beautiful looking home.
Yeah, I would like to get two in that sort of pocket. That, for me, would feel most comfortable. I'd love
like
a place...
in the Western Corridor?
Yeah, I would love, like, that spot that we looked at in the eastern suburbs. That property that we saw, I don't know who got it, but I looked at that. Gosh, I looked at that house, and you were like, "I want to buy it," and I'm like, "I would buy that." Like, it was a beautiful home.
Andrew, man, far out, bro. He knows.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I'm like, okay, if I had everything set up today, I would have bought that. Yeah, I wouldn't have flinched. I would have been like, just call. Here's my offer. Take my money. Let's get it done.
The unrenovated version of this home, it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage home, walking distance to the beach on the Mornington Peninsula. And I got it for 50 grand more than a shitbox 3-bedder unrenovated. And it had, to me, it's 400 grand worth of work had been done to the home retail. Like, I've never seen such
Everyone was trying to estimate, like, how much do you reckon they spent on this reno? We're all trying to do the math in our heads, but it was beautiful.
So beautiful.
Yeah, so if that home comes up, I would buy that home as well. I want that definitely.
Home. Yeah, sure.
I think there's a few people want that home, though.
Yeah. I've been talking to Lisa about this morning and last night a lot, and the financial advisors and my accountant yesterday as well. I'm actually thinking of rolling the dice and going cheap again.
Are you going to build, though, if you do it?
Look, I looked at, literally, there's 44 pages on realestate.com of land across the suburbs. Like, I looked at every one of the 43 suburbs in what I call Geelong. Geelong's a suburb, it's not an area. But, like, that Geelong region, wider Geelong. And I actually found it very difficult to find land where I wanted it to be. There wasn't a single piece of land that I would have built on down there personally, for the budget that I'm operating in, because I don't want to be 500k above the average house price in a suburb just by building. So my preference 100% is to buy and build duplexes, or to build a 4-bedroom home with a 2-bedroom granny, because I like the tax benefits, I like the low maintenance, I like the longer term growth, I like the cash flow mainly. I like when interest rates were 2% or 7%. I didn't even know, because my portfolio was so positively geared. But I'm thinking about now of a strategy which is a bit of a roll the dice one, of just loading up on 2-3 of these in super.
Yep.
Maybe 2 super, 1 outside of super, in the sub 600k range, walking distance to the beach. Just getting in and blitzing them straight away. Like, I'm flooring, lights, door handles,
you can do the
garden
lipstick.
tidy up, paint, lights, and then just forgetting them. And I don't like the idea of not having phenomenal cash flow. But talking to the agent today, there was a place, for example, that is online for about $550, and in its current state, the rental appraisal was about $440. But with a bit of cosmetic reno, he's sort of saying closer to $500 a week. And because the vacancy rates are 0.5% in that suburb, I can see why there's just no stock. And I was like, man, that's not a bad yield if you're putting down, because I won't use equity because it's super, right? You've got cash.
Yeah.
So putting down a 20% deposit, if you spend 600k and it's renting for 500 a week with a 20% deposit, the bath that I take interest only is not going to be that big. And I'm okay with that, I think, short term. But yeah, of course.
You might be twisting my arm here. You might be...
I've really been thinking about it. And I'm like, I always said, never the cheapies again like this, because I've had some pain. You get some pain with them too. Like buying older homes, there's maintenance. Buying up and coming suburbs, sometimes you get a tenant in there that rattles you a bit and you need to fix stuff. But I just like it so much. I just think I can see the opportunity cost of that versus putting all my eggs into the same suburb and spending $1 million. Like if I spent $900K building there, so I'm really going.
No,
to
you are.
I'm
like
sorry,
you are. No, I can see the wheels are turning. I know this is normally good when
as a
this
listener,
is happening for
this
you.
is probably boring, but for me, I'm really in decision making mode on strategy right now. And once strategy's set,
I could see you this morning.
time.
Yeah, you were like, you're in action mode.
Yeah.
Talk about action in action. I could see you're in that mode where you're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I'm calling agents all morning about my own properties. But I was, I could buy the land for 400-ish, 450 near the beach, spend 600K building it. I started to think, what would Ben 15 years knowing everything that I know have done? Buying 2 houses on the sunny coast, 2 houses in Cronulla Beach, 2 houses in Fremantle, 2 houses on the Mornington Peninsula on the 600 square metre blocks would be far better than having one house with a granny flat that's brand new in the same suburb. And so I'm like, what I did this morning with Lisa, like this is hyper detail. But there was a time in Brisbane on the beaches where I could have bought a house for 500K. I chose instead to build houses with granny flats, like big houses, like 300 plus square metre homes with granny flats. They were costing me about 900 grand at that time, when I could have just bought 2 for 500 each. The 900K homes, I've just sold both of them for like 1.3 plus. So I made 400 grand in 5 or 6 years, which is good. But the 500K homes are worth $1 million to 1.1 now. And I'm like, I could have made 100% on that versus 30%, 40% on the other. And so my logical brain is like, just because I like brand new cash flow and spending more money getting what I really want doesn't mean that it's a better investment decision right now in the current market. And what I know about GFCs, or if interest rates spike back up in the next few years, which I believe they're coming down to go back up, what I think happens to the markets is the higher end gets belted more. There could be a better buying opportunity for high end, plus $1 to $1.5 million in a few years' time than there is now for me personally. And so I'm sort of thinking, delay those purchases, get the cheapies, and just rinse the market.
If I think about all the lessons we've learnt from like watching our old suburb, where we used to live in Watala and stuff go, I never thought I wish I bought a better house. All I wish is I bought another house. You know what I mean? So after listening to you, another one. But now you've got me thinking,
would you have gone to Noosa and bought one place worth $2 million 15 years ago? Or would you have gone to Watala and bought 4 houses worth $1 million?
4 every day.
The 2 is now worth 3.5. The 4 are now worth 1.5 each. Like, I think we've just answered the question.
You've definitely done that. I was thinking back, I'm like, we would have bought our whole street if we knew what things were doing.
And I think this is important for thanks Mum for still listening. Anyone that's still at this point, like sometimes the best stuff comes out at the end of these things. I've
never heard you deliver this much personally. You're really getting into it.
Because cool. I really haven't been a buyer much in the last few years. Like I just haven't seen as much value as maybe other people see. I regret it because
we've missed some
big
boats.
Opportunities have come through that I missed. But I just think there's some blood in the water. And I said it before, I cannot believe we're having a convo about the sunny coast of Melbourne for 500K. I cannot believe we're talking about the inner pockets of Sydney or Brisbane or Perth for 600 to 750K. I can't believe we're talking about the Mornington Peninsula that would be $3 million in Sydney for what we're talking about here, like $1 million. It's exciting. And when investing is exciting plus logical, it just becomes a game and it's way more fun.
Definitely.
I've loved this today, man. I'm sorry I've been so data-y.
No, you're good.
I'm coming from that place at the moment.
Oh, that's awesome. You've got me thinking, that's for sure. I think after this, I'm going to have to redo the sums and go over some stuff.
Awesome, bro. Cheers.
Thanks,
for today.
man.
I
Appreciate it.
G'day guys, my name's Ben and I'm the director here at Pumped on Property, and I just want to say a massive thank you for watching our content today. Now, if you're thinking about buying an investment property in the next 3 to 12 months, then the team and I would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session. In that session, we can talk about exactly where you are right now, where you'd like to be longer term, and we can deeply educate you on the Australian market. And then you can take that information and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the small number of clients that we work with each week. To book your session, all you have to do is go to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that book your free strategy session button. But either way, we wish you all the best on your journey as an investor to financial freedom.